Welcome, and huge apologies for being a little bit late, but as you can anticipate, trying to launch a robotic self-driving vehicle in the middle of a lockdown safely is more of a challenge. So as you can tell, I'm not live on location, possibly where I should have been, but we've actually had to put this together in a COVID-safe way. So my panelists, who were going to all be in the control center with me, are all going to be brought in via live links. As you can tell, I'm not actually at the control center. We will be going out live to some action in the streets, but please bear with us. We've actually put this together slightly quickly because we only knew about 10 days ago that we were going into a second lockdown. But anyway, so on with the show. I want to start with a little video of some of the things we were planning to do live, but because of the COVID restrictions, we just can't actually do that or can't take the risks. So please stay with us. We have about a 10-minute video that will actually set the scene for what's going on with cargo today.
Hello, my name is Passy, or William. I'm the founder of the Academy of Robotics. We're here in the London Borough of Hounslow today, and we're very excited to have you here. So, we're here to talk about three things today. The first is why we're even here and why we exist as a company. The next thing is we're going to give a spectacular demo and then show you what we've been working on for the last 2 to 3 years. And then lastly, we'll be joined by a panel of experts who are going to discuss the modern miracle we're hoping to show you here later. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the last mile problem. So we've all bought something online. Now what many people don't know is one of the biggest problems in all of online retail is simply this: the cost of getting a package to you. Now you could buy something online and have it shipped to your house for next to nothing when it gets to your local depot. But from that local depot to your house, the cost goes up completely exponentially. They call this the last mile problem. So many companies have been trying to solve this problem. It's universally agreed that automating it is the right way to go. So you see the contenders. There are companies making these really cool knee-high robots. Personally, I love these. They're really great. But the problem is, how do you scale this? How do you send these across a time? Hello, my name is Passy or William. I'm the founder of the Academy of Robotics. We're here in the London borough of Hounslow today, and we're very excited to have you here. So, we're here to talk about three things today. The first is why we're even here and why we exist as a company. The next thing is we're going to give a spectacular demo and then show you what we've been working on for the last 2 to 3 years. And then lastly, we'll be joined by a panel of experts who are going to discuss the modern miracle we're hoping to show you here later. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the last mile problem. So we've all bought something online. Now what many people don't know is one of the biggest problems in all of online retail is simply this: the cost of getting a package to you. Now you could buy something online and have it shipped to your house for next to nothing when it gets to your local depot. But from that local depot to your house, the cost goes up completely exponentially. They call this the last mile problem. So many companies have been trying to solve this problem. It's universally agreed that automating it is the right way to go. So you see the contenders. There are companies making these really cool knee-high robots. Personally, I love these. They're really great. But the problem is, how do you scale this? How do you send these across a town? It becomes very expensive very quickly. I'll tell you a bit of a story. So 6 years ago, after I sold my last company, I went to study artificial intelligence and robotics. And one of the first things I did is I filed a patent on an invisible road network in the sky, which drones could use to navigate from point A to point B. The thing is, though, about drones is, I don't know if you can still hear anything I'm saying. They can be quite loud. They can be really annoying. So the problem with the drones is that they make for an absolutely terrible user experience. I then went to university and I started studying artificial intelligence and robotics. And it was from there I met most of my founding team and I started Academy of Robotics and then invented Cargo, the world's first last mile delivery vehicle. So the autonomous car space is very competitive. Over the last few years, some of the largest companies in the world have been working on ways to make cars drive themselves. Their focus, however, has been mainly on motorways and what we call A roads, the larger roads where there's a lot of traffic and you've got very clear delineated roads. We, however, all went to university in rural Wales, where we had nothing but very small, unmarked roads. You don't really know where the road starts, where it stops. Sometimes the verge merges into it. So we focused on working on these smaller roads. We didn't have $1 billion to hand to throw at new sensors like a lot of these companies did. So we did something very different. Now, I'm going to explain a bit of an interesting example in science. So a chimpanzee compared to a human, we know we have a bigger brain, we have better hardware. Our brain is essentially hardware. But yet, if you put a chimpanzee versus a human at intellectual tasks, when it comes to memory, chimps completely outperform us. And the question is, how is that? They have a smaller brain, we're smarter than them, but they're just better. The solution is better software. They run a better sort of system in their brain. So similarly, in our space, we thought rather than spend $1 billion on better hardware, what if we put all our resources to innovating in just software? Cargo's vision system is based on evolution, very similar to how mammals' brains work. We started creating algorithms with memory, with new ways such as emergence, and filed over 14 patents just in software alone on different ways in which we can make cars drive themselves better autonomously. The result is something very cool, would very much like to show you right now.
When I first started working with AI, I remember AI just being a distant, futuristic concept. Our research at the time, me and Dr. Tucci's, was to understand self-driving cars in unmarked roads, environments that were not necessarily structured. We focused a lot from the very start to understand really how representations of pixels affect the performance of AI and other computer vision systems in general. We have our own patented vision system, BioSim, which could actually change the field of AI because it uses techniques that very few players, if any, use in real-world cases.
I realized this wasn't just another AI self-driving car. They'd solved things in a smart way. They hadn't followed the crowd. That's what gives Cargo its big differentiator in the marketplace.
The Cargo software has been built with safety in mind, especially with aspects like our own hybrid color model and the sort of algorithms we apply is basically designed for unmarked roads and complex urban environments.
So Eurovia are a fascinating partner for us. We didn't realize that a company which traditionally works with roads has a use for artificial intelligence the way that we use artificial intelligence.
One of the unique things that we identified was their use of computer vision and navigation systems and how that could actually be helped and used to identify defects, understand road condition better continuously as the vehicle is operating, and using AI to then future predict the condition of the networks.
Once the iconic cargo car starts driving around in different parts of the country, I think people will start to recognize it more and more, and I'm sure in the coming future it will become one of the leading brands of the country, if not the world.
So we've built Cargo, we've built incredible software. The next step is getting it on the road. So I'm very, very proud to share with you all that Cargo, our autonomous delivery vehicle, received its Minister's Approval Certificate. This means that it is able to get a number plate and is now a street legal vehicle. The next phase is actually getting it on the road. Now, the current guideline in the UK goes as follows. To get a car on the road, it needs to be a street legal vehicle. A skilled operator must be able to take control at any time, be it in the vehicle or not in the vehicle, and it must be fully insured and a fully licensed vehicle. So we've ticked all these three boxes. However, we went a little bit further, and I'd like to show you something.
Imagine there was a building that lets you interface with every single vehicle in Cargo's fleet with only the touch of a single button. Welcome to the Command Hub. The Command Hub system, a complete integrated vehicle monitoring system. You can access the cargo vehicle and see what's happening with its controller circuits. You can see examples from its vision output. You can even interface through our own in-house simulation platforms.
These include the weather, these include what the car can see, what's happening around the car.
The levels of detection that Cargo can achieve for things that can't physically be seen even is quite impressive.
Because we're making the vehicle itself and the software to control the vehicle, we can see what the car is doing. Is the indicator on? Is there a crack on the road? Is the road wet? Is there a puddle? And the car will tell you in real time all the things that are happening, so we can log everything. We can take control if we need to. We can speak to the driver.
Normally this will be buzzing with lots of people operating and managing the network on a day-to-day basis. Today it's a great pleasure to be welcoming Academy of Robotics.
So this is the building of absolute control. One of the most important things is a lot of people talk about jobs or displacement caused by autonomy and things like driverless cars. We're one of the first companies hiring people or looking for people to join us to be able to help monitor or supervise fleets of autonomous vehicles.
Welcome back. Hopefully that gives you a bit more context about what we're here to do today. Also, what one of our sharp-eyed viewers fed back to us is, who am I? My name's Gavin Anderson. I'm the Interim Director of Comms here at Academy of Robotics. I look after investor relations. I've been lucky enough to be on this journey for about 1.5 years now. I work with lots of startups, but when I met William and this one, that was, yeah, as they say, the rest is history. So hopefully that opening video has given you two things. Apologies for the little glitch at the start of that. As you can tell, we're kind of fighting against technical problems, but I think we have the ship stable at the moment, so we're going to keep ploughing on. Lockdown or not, rented small apartments to do live streams from, we're going to plough on and we're going to deliver this. So the first thing I want to turn to is safety. Safety has been a huge topic within self-driving, whether it be Teslas that have been on autopilot, whether it be Google cars clipping curbs. Safety and autonomous driving, I think, is probably the public's #1 issue. So I'd like to start with addressing that up front, and we're going to show you a short video to show not only how we're meeting the safety standards, but we aim to be working with Eurovia and CCAB, the UK government and the European governments, to actually set safety standards. Also in that video, you'll have actually seen that we've been working with Eurovia and the London Borough of Hounslow and CCAB since August, which is why you're actually seeing the vehicle out of the road. But more about that later. First, let's have a look at some of the safety features that Cargo brings to the industry.
Here what we've put is a simulator of a steering wheel and a encoder sensor that we've custom built to measure the exact angle of the steering wheel. As we do robotics, we have to be very accurate with what we do, so we have very high precision measurements. So we're measuring down to about 0.0015 degrees.
I think the interesting thing about Cargo is that the safety is almost above what is actually required legally at the moment. For example, there is a technology in there that can see a child before it runs out into the road through a car. Cars today don't have that. You and I don't have that. So it's actually going to be safer than a lot of the vehicles that are actually running and being controlled on the road today.
So the system that we've designed here is the electronics that fit inside a Cargo. And this is our interaction to all the sensors and actuators of the vehicle. So this controls the steering wheel, the angle of the steering wheel, the acceleration of the vehicle, the indicators.
This is an exciting world, but we can't let the excitement overturn the rigor that has to be around safety.
We do this to make sure that there's a driver in there so that the car doesn't drive away without anybody in the vehicle. Because when we first roll out Cargo, it's important that the car can't drive itself without someone sitting in the vehicle for safety reasons. We are now waiting for a human to press the green button, and now the AI has the ability to control the vehicle.
The cornerstone, if you like, has to be the kind of rigor around safety and proving that Cargo is as safe as a human driver. And welcome back. I'm now joined by 4 panelists to discuss some of the things we've seen. I really need to, I can't not, because I'm actually sitting next to William here. I've got to do William's introduction first, even though you can't actually see him on camera. You can now. So, William, CEO, founder of Academy of Robotics, serial entrepreneur. Academy of Robotics is William's 4th venture after already successfully setting up and exited 3 businesses. His first business, 123 Registration, at just 19, and his last company, My City Venture, was acquired by Secret Escapes in 2015. William mentioned his Skyway system in the video, but what you may not know is after his 3rd exit, where personally I would have gone and lived on a tropical island, he didn't. He actually went back to Aberystwyth University, studied AI and robotics, and actually, as a sideline, invented the world's first AI robotic librarian. So more from William in a minute, but we have a learned panel with us today. We have Michael Dunkley, who's head of safety at CCAV, Martin Newman, retail expert and consumer champion. Retail Week quotes him as one of the top 50 most influential people in retail today. Personally, I'd put him up a bit higher than that because he's always the person I pick up the phone to. We also have Yogesh Patel, Process and Improvement Director of Eurovia UK. Just to give you some context, Michael from the Centre of Connected and Autonomous Vehicles, CCAV, is a joint venture from the Department of Business, Energy, Industrial Strategy and the Department of Transport. CCAV is an expert unit that's working with the industry and academia to make everyone's journeys greener, safer and more flexible. Martin, one of the most influential people in retail and the customer experience within retail. Yogesh from Eurovia, looking after system improvements, process improvements, and William. So I am going to start with Michael. You have to excuse me, I've got to scroll through my road. Everything's a bit strapped together today, but we're doing well with it. So Michael, can I start with you? Because obviously, going back to that safety video, safety is one of the primary things that everybody thinks about with self-driving vehicles. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with organisations like us to advance CAV technology whilst keeping people safe?
Thanks, Gavin. Sure. I should say that I'm really delighted to be part of this event, and even more delighted to see the emphasis that you are putting on to safety. You're absolutely right. Safety and cybersecurity are the most important objectives in the government's approach to working with this sort of technology. So, for example, we've put significant investment over the last 4 years into building a world-leading group of testing facilities called Testbed UK. These facilities enable developers to come to the UK to test, develop and deploy CAV technology in a safe manner. CCAV itself has also co-funded more than 80 projects involving 200 organisations, and each of these projects has got a keen focus on safety, which again is helping us to learn about what safety is, what good safety looks like, and how to assess it from a sort of regulatory point of view. Just quickly want to talk about what we're doing currently in CCAV. We're developing a program of work called CAV PASS, which stands for CAV, Process for Assuring Safety and Security. And this is a really comprehensive look at all the current vehicle approval and testing processes in the UK to update them to enable them to accommodate CAV technology. And the aim of that is that no CAV goes on a UK road, whether it's just a single on a trial or at the other end of the scale, a number of large vehicles being commercially deployed. They don't go on the road unless they're absolutely safe. And just finally, William has already mentioned the code of practice under which CAV trials operate at the moment. There's a need to ensure that the vehicle is roadworthy, that there's a safety driver who can take control at any time, and that there's adequate insurance. And this is the bedrock of where we start at the moment. And the emphasis is that it's the trialling organisation's responsibility to ensure the trial is both safe and legal in this way. And again, you know, to go back to the start, this is why I'm so pleased to see safety being at the heart of this presentation. Thanks, Gavin.
Excellent, thank you. Yogesh, I'm going to come to you now. Why is Eurovia? Because I touched on the trials we've been, the tests that we've been doing with Eurovia. Why is Eurovia so interested in this technology, and where do you see the benefit for Eurovia? Eurovia, for the context of our audience, Eurovia is one of the main contractors in the UK that look after highways and road services. So, Yogesh, why is this technology so interesting to Eurovia?
Thank you, Gavin. Well, firstly, let me just add my congratulations to William and the whole Academy and Robotics team for this fantastic milestone. Obviously, there's a long way to go, but this is a great start. To answer your question, Eurovia UK and its associated companies, including Ringway, for example, manages and maintains over 50,000 kilometers of highways and roads, strategic roads and local authority roads across England and Scotland. So as part of this, we have a huge logistics operations to make sure we get our equipment, our people, our materials, tools to the right place, to the right people at the right time. And also, with such a large responsibility for UK roads, it's important that we manage them and maintain them in a way that presents best value for the taxpayer. So, dealing with issues quickly, identifying issues quickly, and carrying out works in best whole life cost manner. So that's our interest. Our interest is really on 2 points. Firstly, improving the logistics of the way that we get small tools, materials, and equipments back and forth from the site and our depots and our supply chain. And secondly, looking at some of the things that William mentioned in the video, seeing how we could use computer vision and the advanced navigation techniques that Cargo has to help us identify and monitor the condition of the road. And this is really important for us because not only is it delivering better value for the taxpayer, but these two techniques together will help us improve our carbon footprint. Now, we have set ourselves a target of reducing Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions by 40% over the next 10 years. That's going to need a huge rethinking of how we manage, maintain, operate, and use the roads. And that's what we're doing with this partnership with Cargo, rethinking how we deliver highway services. So that's our interest, Gavin.
I think the other aspect, I believe we've actually got some footage of some of the testing work we've been doing with you, but the other aspect you've been looking at into Eurovia is how the technology can be used to improve the conditions of roads and potholes. Can you kind of expand on some of the things that you found? Because I know that you found this particularly interesting about Cargo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are lots of computer vision techniques that are being used to identify defects. What was special about Cargo is its potential to identify defects in real time and, most importantly, the depth of a defect. Currently, the traditional ways of monitoring the carriageway is perhaps a two-man driven inspection, two-person driven inspection, recording the defects, recording issues on the carriageway on a tablet. That's obviously costly, expensive, and time-consuming. With the use of a computer vision type system, we could survey a lot bigger part of the network more frequently, and most importantly, get early sight of potential issues so that they can be dealt with before they become a big problem. And that's really attractive to us. It's attractive to our clients as well, because that means that we can manage the network, manage the carriageways, an important part of our infrastructure in the most efficient way by addressing issues early rather than waiting for them to become more costly and more disruptive to the traveling public, as well as more expensive for the taxpayer.
You also mentioned that, thank you for that, Yogesh. Also, running over that, Yogesh, we had some footage of some of the actual deliveries. I want to bring in Martin now, who's been sitting very quietly in the corner. Martin, from a retail perspective, how do you think this is going to be? How do you think this is going to address some of the retail challenges?
Thanks, Gavin. Well, first of all, thank you to William for having me today. Congratulations on an incredible milestone that you and the Academy of Robotics have reached. I'm delighted to know that Academy of Robotics and Cargo are not only solving the last mile customer experience, are also helping Eurovia to improve our roads. So what's not to like about that? Lots of benefit from a retail perspective. If I put my retailer hat on for a second, which I've been for quite a chunk of my career, when I used to run multi-channel operations for Harrods, Burberry, Ted Baker, Pentland Brands and the likes. One of the big challenges is obviously the cost. Retailers talk about the cost to serve. And obviously the more you can streamline that last mile experience, the more effective that's going to be. But also at the moment, we've got lots of large trucks going out on our roads with sometimes with a relatively small number of orders. If that retailer's delivering directly, and I can see how Cargo can potentially help to consolidate and reduce the cost of that last mile experience, whilst also improving it for customers, which I know I'll come on and talk more about in a minute. And of course, Certainly, one of the big impacts is the impact on the environment. I'm sure Greta Thunberg has been watching from afar in her native Scandinavia as the carbon footprint may have reduced while many of us were in lockdown. But then I'm sure the number of lorries on our roads have more than made up for any impact of the carbon footprint due to all the orders we've all been placing at home. So I think the opportunity to have an electric logistics vehicle that fulfills that last mile experience will have lots of benefits for retailers, lots of benefits for customers, and lots of benefits for the environment.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martin. Well, in true live television style, I should be sticking my finger in my ear and shouting that we've got something live and exciting happening, but I'm not going to because I'm not even wearing an earpiece. But I'm going to hand over to William for what will be an exceptionally exciting interjection to this morning's. Not that we haven't had lots of excitement already with streams up and down, but we've got some more coming. William.
Hello, fantastic to have you here. Hi, Mom. We started this company perhaps maybe 3 years ago. A lot of people thought we were completely mad. What are we doing trying to get autonomous cars on the road as a small company? So we've been funded by angel investors, not corporate funded, no government funding up until now. And I'd like to show you something very special. So I think I've got Elliot on standby. Elliot on standby? I'm guessing you're probably seeing visuals of Elliot right now. What we've actually done is we have started autonomous delivery from pharmacies to care homes, starting right now. You're seeing a live image of Elliot with the car cargo right now approaching, which I believe Hounslow East Pharmacy as we speak right now. So this is not something we're planning for the future or done yet, it's happening now. Those are the live images. So you've seen it here first, autonomous delivery, prescription medicines from pharmacies to care homes.
Excellent.
I don't know if you still have them on the screen, but yeah, that's my bit done. I normally say a lot, but I think I'll keep it very simple today.
We just got the car just driving off
Oops.
now. Amazing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is truly live. That is Cargo as a legal registered vehicle, delivery bot 0001, I guess.
Cargo delivery bot is the name, yeah.
William has registered a new classification of vehicle on British roads, and there you actually saw it live on the roads of Hounslow today. Right, now that I'm going to jump back into our questions. Yogesh, if I can come to you, because one of the other things that I found quite interesting was not only about the scanning of the roads, but also you're looking at an innovative way of using the technology for some of your urban construction and repair sites.
Yeah, absolutely. COVID-19, we can't go, have this sort of event without mentioning COVID-19, has enlightened all of us in terms of what can be achieved in terms of active travel, shifting from the car to more greener means of transport. And that's really important for our clients in places like London, for example, where the mayor is trying to actively encourage greater greener travel. And we have our part to play in that as well. The way we get our materials to site, the way we get our people to site and carry out our works. So, we're looking at potentially using technologies like Cargo to enable our people to go directly from their homes straight to site and allow the cargo vehicle to meet them on site with just the right equipment, just the right tools and materials, and minimize the number of journeys that are made on a congested network. That's obviously beneficial from a green perspective, but also congestion point of view, efficiency point of view, and just the modernizing the way that we carry out construction, and rethinking, as I said earlier, rethinking the way we deliver services.
Your point, COVID and technology such as like this, is being disrupted, but it's also just bringing the future closer. It's very appropriate, I think, that today's called Tomorrow's Transport Today, because well, actually, there's not much point in me talking about how retail and deliveries have changed. Actually, Martin, this is a very poignant part to bring you in. The world is has its goods arriving online now. How important is this kind of last mile delivery and collection for retailers going to be?
It's going to be huge. Obviously, due to the pandemic, there's been a significant shift and a significant uptick in the percentage of all retail sales that are conducted online. So prior to the pandemic, approximately 19% of all retail orders were made on the website and the rest of it was offline. Now it's sitting about 26%. So it's increased 45, 50% basically over the duration of the pandemic, and that's obviously massive. And as many of us continue to work from home, stay locally and shop locally, then it's also got implications. So, I can see cargo coming in to help local retailers fulfill orders more effectively in their local environment, just as much as I can see it playing a role for the national retailers and helping them solve that last mile conundrum and making it a more environmentally and more cost efficient delivery. So big part to play, and logistics is, arguably that last mile experience is really the most important that a customer has. I'm sure all of us can think of our experience of buying, whether that's offline or online. But ultimately, when you have your order delivered online, that is the most important thing, because it's the last thing that you remember about your engagement and interaction with that brand. And if it's a poor experience, then ultimately you're going to vote with your feet, or you're going to vote with your mouse, and you're going to buy elsewhere in the future.
Very true. William, a couple of questions for you. How will people be notified about the packages they're receiving from Cargo? First one. And how will Cargo tackle the problem of changes in the orders drop-off? Maybe if the customer's not at home or they'll be back. So how's Cargo involved with that customer touch point?
Thank you. Before I answer that, I actually wanted to add that this has been the result of a great collaboration from many different companies. A big shout out to my incredible team who helped this all happen. It's a big day for us. We waited years for this. And special thanks to the CCAV department. They were very helpful, especially recently, as it's very complicated getting a new type of car, as complicated as this, onto the roads. So we're currently doing what we call arrival departure trials. What this means is, rather than driving the entire route autonomously, we're focusing more arrival departure, because driving on roads, it's mostly solved by most people in the industry. It's more these smaller roads, where do you go, where do you arrive? And so what we've done is, we don't like reinventing the wheel with technology. It always goes to the next stage from what is already built. So much like we're all used to using a modern taxi app, similar to an Uber or similar. So we've built a very similar app where when you buy something online, as magic as a modern taxi app, you can see, there's my car, it is coming, it arrives. So it's very simply an app like we're all used to, the 3 million people in London that use an app to see where their vehicle is. That's how our autonomous delivery arrival departure works.
Cool. Right, I'm going to a couple of quick questions for the panel. Michael, you've obviously been involved in a lot of trials for CAVs. You've possibly seen more of them than the rest of us have. What do you think is new or different about Cargo?
Hi, Gavin. Thanks. I thought I'd just clarify with my very sort of official government hat on that, as I understand it, great job to get Cargo legally on the road. But I think you might have said it was a new classification, but it's very much been approved under an existing classification. So it would be remiss of me not just to clarify on that point. To address your question, yeah, Cargo for us exemplifies, a trend in CAV thinking towards the automated logistics part of the sector, and William has specifically said, you're focusing on the last mile delivery of goods, which understandably has become more important during these difficult COVID and lockdown times. CCAV's the view, if cargo can achieve its goal of becoming a complete logistics solution, and I can see certainly you're well on the way towards that, then as we see, it will complement what the government believes could be a growth area for CAV technology in the future. So that's greening the logistics sector, and there's already been a lot of emphasis placed on the environmental benefits of this technology, which is absolutely right. Making the transport of goods on our roads safer, and also creating new opportunities to increase efficiency and productivity. And just finally, the use of this technology on the cargo vehicle to identify issues with roads, the roads that require maintenance, is absolutely a very interesting application to us as well. And we're going to follow this with interest, as of course we will all of cargo's exploits.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
One line from you, Yogesh. I think Michael might have actually stolen your thunder there, because I was away to ask you, Yogesh, what's the thing that you're most excited about on cargo? And I'm guessing that's, well, is that portals or is that deliveries for you, or both?
Quite apart from our sort of direct application of deliveries and identifying highway defects, just looking above the technology, safety of the road users, safety of the traveling public, and how autonomous vehicles, I believe, will make journeys much more safer. I think you mentioned earlier that the cargo is at least as safe as a human. All the indications suggest that a large proportion of incidents and accidents are caused by human behaviors. So if that human behavior can be augmented with artificial intelligence to help that traveling public, I think safety will improve tremendously. The other element is inclusivity, inclusive of all society members, because this creates an opportunity for mobility as a service, delivery as a service, and then that opens up the opportunities for having a customer-driven service, where the customer can demand the drop-off at midnight, or if they're popped over to the neighbor's house, actually the delivery gets delivered to the neighbor's house, because with autonomy and this sort of technology, and I know other things that William and his team are working on, that then becomes possible. So I think there are those three exciting facets of connected and autonomous vehicles of the future, which opens up a whole bigger agenda.
Martin, impact on retail?
Well, I think it's going to be absolutely enormous. I think the fundamental impact is on consumers. And as you know, I'm the consumer champion. And I think the big benefit of this is it puts the customer in control. So I think that's the key thing. I think if you look at why conversion rates on most websites are still only between 2 and 5% on average, it's because customers are still thinking about what happens if I'm not in when my order is delivered. And I think this changes all of that. So when you're in a position where you can, as a consumer, you can select when you want your order delivered and how you want it delivered, then that really puts you in control, because you know you're going to be there. And it just changes the whole dynamic. And for me, that will change everything. And I think it will continue to see an increase in the uplift in orders online continually over the next 5-10 years.
Excellent. Right. Well, it leaves me to kind of. We've had a couple of questions come in from the web. One I'm going to throw over to William. This is an interesting one, William. What valuation do you put on the company in 12 months on a sale or an IPO? That's what everybody wants to know.
So it's my job to get the company valuation as high as possible. We build the technology to solve a problem. It's my job to solve the problem, and the right valuation will come at the right time.
Okay. Well, we've got one more coming in here. What are the hurdles you've had to come to get cargo to the market?
So for us, one of the big ones was, as you can see, the car looks like a spaceship, or as we call it, Actually, let me make this official. A lot of people have asked, why green? Why does it look like that? Well, here's your official answer. I went to university in Aberystwyth in Wales. And as you probably all know, on the Welsh crest is a dragon. So cargo is our green baby dragon. So to get a car that looks like that approved was, I mean, there's many things that are part of the guidelines set by the Vehicle Standards Agency, which include how far the indicators are, perhaps chassis, suspension. So getting the car to still look like that and still be a vehicle that would be considered safe and a street legal vehicle was quite complicated. But we managed to achieve it. And then, of course, comes the technology. Luckily, we have a very innovative team which is made up of an army of PhD level engineers, which is probably the highest level of knowledge in this space. So yeah, the technology and getting that vehicle to stay looking as it does and being a street legal vehicle.
Okay. Well, that leads me to, oh no, we've still got another question coming in. The audience is not letting us escape. Thank you, all people that have been viewing this morning, and thank you for bearing with us through the little kind of technical glitches we've had. Trying to launch Britain's first self-driving autonomous delivery vehicle in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah, it's been challenging, I'd say. So William, what do you think the future holds for these types of projects?
So I mean, I'm a big believer in automation, and technology is very predictable. Actually, it's always one small step. And if you look at, for instance, cars, they start as these giant steam engine machines, and then we got eventually seat belts, and then eventually years later we got cars with cruise control. Everyone lost their minds. After cruise control, they got cruise control, the lane assistance kept you in lane, and then the next step was cruise control, lane assistance, and obstacle detection. And now the next stage is autonomy. So we think cargo and similar systems, or quite simply cargo, is definitely the next step. Why? Because if you trace it backwards, it's the only logical solution.
Okay, well that leaves me then to say thank you to all the Academy of Robotics team. Thank you to the Michael and the team at CCAV. Thank you to Yogesh and the team at Eurovia, who we've been camping out in their premises prior to lockdown. Thank you as ever to Mark Newman for being wonderfully wise about the retail champions perspective. Also, thank you to the technical team for being able to put this together in what has been quite challenging, because as you can tell, we're not at LWT Studios here. Also thank you to William, from my point of view, for A, letting me host this, and B, letting me be on part of this journey. And I think there's only one person to kind of give us a sign off and a wrap up to this morning. So thank you again for following us. If you want any more information, register on the Academy of Robotics site, whether you want to be a partner, a fan, an investor, any of the above or all of the above. So I think I'm going to leave the final words on this quite historic making morning. I'll leave the final words to William.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I normally have a lot to say, but I think today I'll keep it very simple. Please recheck our website in the next hour or so. It will revert back to the new site with all the information breaking down exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, when we're doing it, and what happens next. There are complete safety cases there. For investors, you're all going to receive an automated email by day's end. It's all prepared. Just check back on the website for a full experience we built there for you. Thank you very much once again, and I think you'll start seeing closing visuals shortly. Thank you very much, everyone.